Hi everyone, I'm Anna. Welcome to week 3 of Virtual Science Outreach. We are super happy to have you all back today, where we are going to talk about the spread of disease and the tools that scientists use to talk about the spread. But before we begin, make sure that you have something to write with and something to write on, and follow along with the worksheet that we have accompanying this lesson. So let's begin. Do you all remember what we talked about last week? Maybe take a second right now to pause the video and jot down some key words that you remember from last week's lesson. Amazing! Just as a reminder, we talked about different social distancing measures that we can all take in our lives. We also created some tools using the engineering cycle and learned about just why these social distancing measures are so important.
Hi guys, my name's Eliza, and today I'm going to lead us into our lesson, which, as Anna mentioned, is on the spread of disease. Specifically, today we're going to be talking about a particular model that scientists have been using to visualize this giant pandemic. But first I have a question for you. Do you remember when we talked about modeling so many weeks ago? In a second I want you to pause this video and answer these questions. So I wonder if you could jot down some ideas from what you remember on our lesson from models. Do you remember what a model is? Do you remember why they're important? Maybe list some models you think you've seen in your life. So take a second, pause this video, jot that down, and then come back to us. So you may remember how we used models to visualize molecules way back in the fall, or when we used models to demonstrate food webs, or even using models when building our topographical maps. When thinking about and dealing with issues that are way larger than one single person or the scope of the human mind, scientists lean on models to represent information in a more manageable way. Coronavirus is no exception. This is a pandemic that affects the entire world. That is a way bigger scope than any one scientist or doctor could represent on a page. So scientists have developed what they call the SIR model to demonstrate this virus and to understand how it spreads. Don't worry, I know it looks super confusing. I was certainly confused when I first saw it, but we're going to walk through it together over the course of this video. So we're going to talk about this model, but first, pause this video and write down 3 things you notice about this image. Something I noticed is that this is a graph. Graphs are super useful because it allows us to compare amounts of things or numbers. In this graph, we can see how the number of people infected by a disease changes over time. Can you find where the labels in this graph say time and size? When we're talking about graphs, we refer to this as the x-axis and the y-axis, but you can just look at the bottom line where it says time and the line that goes up and down where it says size. If you were building a model like this, you would want to be sure to include labels like these so the audience knows what's being compared. What else do you notice about this graph? I'm interested in the 3 lines, which I notice all seem to be different. In the SIR model, which is what we're looking at right now, these lines are used to represent an entire population of people divided into 3 groups. Now these groups are susceptible, removed, and infective. It's super okay if you don't know what these terms mean. I know I didn't before I learned about this model. So let's talk about some definitions. But before I do so, I want you to remember that these words that I just said are used to group up people within a population. So the word susceptible refers to people within a population who can get this disease, specifically people who are at risk of getting sick with coronavirus. Infective refers to people within a population that have been infected with the disease. In other words, people who are currently sick with coronavirus. These people are contagious and can pass the disease on to others. Removed refers to people within a population that have either had the disease but have gotten better, or had the disease and passed away. They can no longer get coronavirus and they cannot pass it on to other people within the population.
So what does this all mean? Hi, I'm Shannon, and for the rest of the video, we are going to use our own models to demonstrate what these groups actually mean and how they can affect one another and the spread of disease. To start, let's think about how diseases are transmitted. When an infected person gets close to another person, they cough on them or sneeze on them, and this transmits the disease to them. Now, both the original person and the newly infected person have the disease and can transmit it to others. Now that we understand just how easily disease spreads if proper social distancing and protective measures aren't taken, how can we better understand the SIR model? Remember those three groups we talked about? Susceptible, infective, and recovered? We're going to represent them today using dominoes. First, use your imagination. Pretend that these dominoes represent the entire population. Just as scientists have used the SIR model to divide the population into three groups, we're going to use the dominoes to divide our domino population into three groups. In our model, the dominoes standing upright represent the people within a population that are susceptible to COVID-19. We'll treat COVID-19 as the dominoes being knocked over. The dominoes that have fallen, therefore, represent the people in our population who have either recovered from COVID-19 or who have passed away. They can no longer spread this disease. Let's look at what happens when a disease spreads in our domino model. We're starting with a large susceptible population. What happens when one of our dominoes contracts a disease? As you can see, a single infected domino affected many more. And now that some of our dominoes have undergone the infection, they can't be knocked over anymore. With a smaller susceptible population, the disease has fewer places to spread, and more dominoes are knocked over.
Hi, I'm Kellen. Now that we've seen how a disease can spread through a population, let's see how we can track that spread. Here's a photo from when the dominoes started to fall.
Take a moment to pause the video and answer the questions on the worksheet. How many dominoes are standing up? How many are falling? How many have already fallen? How many are being knocked over? Here's how I counted. I said that this domino was falling, these two dominoes were being knocked down, none of the dominoes had already fallen, and the other 32 dominoes were standing up. You probably counted differently and got a different answer. We can show these counts using a bar chart. Each bar shows one of the groups we just counted. This one shows the susceptible group, which are the dominoes that are standing up. This one shows the infective group, which are the dominoes that are falling down. This one shows the removed group, which are the dominoes that have already fallen down. And this one shows the new cases, which are the dominoes that are currently being knocked over. Notice how the height of each of these bars shows us how many people are in that group.
Now let's consider another moment.
This moment is toward the end of the domino chain. Take a moment to pause the video and count again. Here's how I counted this time. It's hard to tell where to draw the lines between groups, so you probably got a different answer. Notice that some of the dominoes that used to be standing up are now falling, and some of the dominoes that used to be in the process of falling have now fallen down. However, the total number of dominoes has not changed. Some dominoes have just changed groups. Here's the bar chart for how I counted. Notice that this time, since there are more dominoes falling, the infective bar is higher, and since there are also more dominoes being knocked down, the new bar is higher.
People are not dominoes, but the way that dominoes fall is very similar to how diseases spread. By studying the real world, scientists have come up with a few observations.
The first observation is that the more people that are infective, or sick, the more the disease spreads. The second observation is that the fewer people that are susceptible, meaning able to get the disease, the slower the disease spreads.
Using these observations, scientists are able to make predictions about how diseases will spread. We won't go into the math, but here's an animation of the SIR model that scientists use.
On the left, we see the susceptible, infective, and removed bars from before. Notice how over time, people in the susceptible group are moving into the infective group, and people in the infective group are moving into the removed group. On the right, we see the graph, which plots the size of each group over time. This is the same graph that Eliza showed earlier. It's important to remember that this model makes some assumptions, so some of its conclusions may be incorrect. For example, this version of the model predicts that the entire population will eventually get the disease, but it fails to take into account preventative measures like social distancing and hand washing. To fix this, scientists use more complicated versions of this model that make better predictions, but this video will only cover this version of the model.
Now that we understand how disease spreads in our domino model, Let's try to use this model to demonstrate the ways we can prevent the spread of disease. Last week, we talked about social distancing and why it's important, and you all engineered tools to support these safety measures. Let's look at what happens with our model when we apply social distancing. Now, imagine that these dominoes are modeling people at a grocery store. Food is something everyone needs, and going to the store is something most people still need to do. If our shoppers are practicing social distancing guidelines, they might be farther away from each other. And some of them might decide to go on later days when it's less busy. By spreading out our crowd here, we still have the same number of susceptible individuals. However, the chances that a single infection will result in a lot of infective groups is much smaller. Or over here. So at the end of this infective event, there are still a lot of susceptible individuals. However, if they continue to practice social distancing, the number of infective individuals will stay low and allow emergency services to provide the proper care. Another tool we have to prevent the spread of disease is quarantine, which is different from social distancing. If we know a person has been infected, we can quarantine them, physically isolating them from other individuals so that they will not be affected by the same disease. Our domino demonstration is one way to model the spread of coronavirus. However, it doesn't quite account for all variables, and there's some things that it doesn't show very well. Can you think of any ways to improve our model?
Now that we have spent some time looking at the SIR model and playing with our own domino model, it is your challenge to imagine another way you could model the spread of disease. Today we used a graph, columns, and a domino population, but you are welcome to use anything. You can draw a model, build a model, or describe the necessary ingredients. It's totally up to you. But just like last week, send us any of your creations our way and we will be sure to feature them on Friday during our live stream at 12. Thank you for joining us.